whiskey still out in our yard. An old pit bull that likes to guard. One day the sheriff came and he tried our stuff. Now he's our fan and they can't get enough of that country music. West of 2, drinking red eye whiskey, call it Mountain Dew. We're playing hard, singing loud. Come on, you all, let's really get down. Well, we got a beat up bass and some old guitars. Most people think that we're pretty bizarre, but we like to play our music on a Saturday night. Maybe get some lovin', start a fight, singing country music. West of 2, drinking red eye whiskey, call it Mountain Dew. We're playing hard and singing loud. Come on, you all, let's really get down.
There we go. All right, we live. For those of you that tune in for the early pre-show, crappy crap, whatever, stuff that shows up. I'm trying to find a jingle. I lost it. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is.
You lost a jingle again?
No,
what are you doing to them, man?
I found a new jingle. I got a new jingle today. Here we go.
They turned the friggin' frogs gay.
Could you hear that? That sounded low.
Yes, I did, but it sounded really low.
It did. It sounded really low. No, too late to fix it. I think it might be too late to fix it today. Let's clear it out of that spot.
And then you can go on the hunt for it again when you need it.
Nah, well, I can do this.
You know what I would love to know?
Here, so let's bring this up.
How do glasses get so filthy on your face?
I have no idea. I have to clean mine a couple times a day, and I can't figure out how. I don't remember touching or fingerprinting them.
I'm pretty sure I don't, because it's never fingerprints on my glasses. It's these little speckles.
No, I don't know.
Little speckles, and it's like I've been walking through the frickin' London fog.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I guess I was cooking earlier, so I guess that could explain it. But
well,
it's just amazing how filthy glasses get.
Could be. All right, let's see what we can do here. There we go. That'll work.
They turned the friggin' frogs gay.
That sounded better.
They turned the friggin' frogs gay.
There we go. Save that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do love that one.
Well, you know, I went to such effort to track it down and crash it. Of course. Stupid thing. Come back here. Crashed it there.
Just remember, it loves you.
Yes, that's what it is. It loves me. It loves crashing. I'm gonna
No, it loves you. It's showing you its love.
I need to go spend some money.
It's just one of those obstinate lover things.
Yeah, that's what it is. There we go. And save. Okay. And there we go. The more I do this, the faster I'll get at all of it, and I'll be able to do multiple things on the fly.
They turned the friggin' frogs gay.
There you go.
Hmm?
There we go. We got the new jingle. We're coming up, and we got a little bit of time here. Got some kidlets to get off to bed. Here we go. How's that work?
Perfect.
What's that?
That sounded perfect. That actually came through better than the frogs going gay.
Yeah.
I'm glad it works.
There we go. All right, let's get this going. Get that running. Little by little, pull it all together, getting all the little tidbits of flowing. All right. That comes through pretty decently on the record. All right. Got to make my quarterly donation to the No Agenda show this week.
You will obey.
In honor of our 500th episode.
Nice.
Figure why not get them to shout us out for our 500th episode.
I noticed that in the other show we have, the fella started out his letter with "in the morning."
That is
He must
so
be a No Agenda
weird.
listener.
Yeah, he's definitely a No Agenda listener. I forgot to recognize that. This is so funny. The chat you put in here is being held for review for some reason. Must be the word troll.
Really?
It was. I looked over and said, "Why is that being held for review?" I read it and it's like,
What the hell?
I was like, must be the word troll.
Wow. I know how to use the right words, I guess.
Yeah, you found the word for the AI that didn't like. Nice work. Nice work. You got stuck in the review slot.
But that one.
Hey, we got 19 subscribers to the channel now.
Nice. That's pretty good.
It's a start.
We definitely have more over on BitChute, though.
We have subscribers on BitChute?
We do.
I didn't even notice that today. I uploaded a new video there finally. I've been ignoring it. I need to do more of it.
So my last message, is it being held for review?
We only have 12 subscribers on BitChute.
Oh, I thought we had more than that. For some reason, I thought no, it's not. It's views. My bad.
Yeah, we have lots of views on the videos, but even this one here, this video, I uploaded it like an hour and a half ago, and it's still not finished processing.
Bloody hell!
It's like BitChute doesn't like me.
No, I think BitChute just has so many people going at it. I think that BitChute is overloaded, and they're trying really hard to keep up. But they're having issues.
Maybe if I buy a membership, they'll give me a little higher priority. I got some people I follow there that they seem to get their videos from their YouTube channel to BitChute rather quickly.
I wonder what it is. By the way, I've been kind of losing my voice for most of the day. I think it's the amount of incense I burned.
Yeah, too much incense can't do that.
Yeah, I let it flow out into the world again, but I mean, while I was filling up the house, my house is a lot bigger than yours, so it takes a lot more incense, and I've been losing my voice for a good portion of the day, so
Well,
hopefully I don't sound too horrible.
That'll do it. Sounds fine. It'll work.
That's good.
Let's see here. What do we got? We got coming down to, we got just over 4 minutes here.
20.
All right.
Oh, no more.
What's that?
I looked at the clock at exactly 4:20 minutes till live.
Yeah. 4:20. It's time for 4:20.
I wish I could join in 4:20. I really do. My allergy is such a weird one. I'm allergic to every part of the plant.
That sucks.
But I can put it on me topically. I just can't ingest it.
Oh, well.
Although if I touch the plant, I break out in a rash. So.
Maybe I'll be able to go to sleep tonight. Had a rough sleep for the last few days.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have no idea why.
Here's a funny one for you and everyone out there. I had this dream, and it lasted for most of the night, where I was cleaning my kitchen, and I had to deal with these eggs. Like these hard-boiled eggs had gotten coffee grinds on them, so I was rinsing them off, but unfortunately the egg yolk popped in a hard-boiled egg. And I spent the whole night trying to stop the hard-boiled egg yolks from popping.
Yeah, well, you don't really want me to analyze that one there. It won't be pretty.
No, please do analyze it, because I just think it's hilarious that my brain
maybe your body's freaking out because your egg basket's getting empty. You know,
I was actually thinking that it could be the issue.
Maybe it's because you're getting up there. Your egg basket's over half empty now. So
That is true, and I definitely have felt the baby fever for the past couple of years, but it's starting to die off now. So that it could be.
Could be. The egg basket's getting empty. You definitely don't need any more babies. You got a couple of them as it is.
No.
We got 4 viewers. How the hell did we collect 4 viewers?
I don't know, but that's awesome.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, it's coming down to the wire. It's time for a little bit of music. Make sure I get my kidlets tucked in, and let's enjoy some Days of Thunder. And come on in, showtime.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning.
Oh, we lost a viewer.
I know what viewer that was. He's talking to me right now.
We're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
Yeehaw. All righty. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the brewery overlooking beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I'm John Overall, and with me is the ever lovely
Overall.
And it is episode 9 of Shooting the Shit at the Rogues Tavern for February 23rd, 2021. You called your grandma, right?
Yes, I did.
Good
Although
job.
she didn't answer, so I just had to leave her a message.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Anyway, today's show, Survival for the Future. That is the theme of today's show. And what is wrong with you here? Why do you... It doesn't like the troll stuff here.
I put 7 ROLL.
Yeah, and it put you in what's it called again?
Really?
Yes, it did.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, don't ask me, man. It's.
I asked you if 7 ROLL.
I don't know, and we've messed up my intro, so the hell with that. All right, so welcome to the Rogues Tavern, and this show is a value for value model. I want to acknowledge the No Agenda Show, and they are the providers of inspiration and the stolen sound clips. Uh oh. We got no stolen sound clips. What the hell? Something's not right there. Stolen sound clip didn't work. Let's try it over here.
Squirrel!
Yeah, it still works there. Okay, so my iPad's acting up. Anyway, They are the providers of those until we get enough trolls and producers out there to start producing sound clips for this show. That would be fantastic. This show, however, it does have an agenda, and we like to cover all kinds of topics: homesteading, cooking, urban farming, and more. Today's show, as I said, the theme is survival in an SHTF situation, and what will you do for that? But before we go into that, I have decided, since, I created this, we are going to start with a little bit of spiritual inspiration from the King James Version of the Holy Bible. And in today's reading, we read from Ecclesiastes 6, chapter 6, verse 1. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God hath given riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth. Yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it. This is vanity, and it is an evil disease. If a man begat 100 children and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial, I say that an untimely birth is better than he. For he cometh in with vanity and departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other. Yea, though he live 1,000 years, twice told, yet hath he seen no good. Do not all go to one place. All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. For what hath the wise more than the fool? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. That which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man. Neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. Seeing there be many things that increase vanity, what is man the better? For he knoweth what is good for man in this life, all the days of his vain life, which he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man that shall be after him under the sun? All right, well, we'll go with that. It always opens to such strange places when I just do the random open of the book.
It is, and it does, and I'm thinking over everything that you just read. It sounds like they were talking about how the ones that lived super duper long were the masters of the slaves, but they weren't very happy with what the slaves gave them. That's what it sounded like, anyway.
Probably.
And that they get to go to hell while the slaves go to heaven?
Yeah,
probably.
Really know. I don't know. There's a lot I didn't read. I'm surprised I read it as good as I did.
And by the way, to continue our earlier conversation, my issue was that I wanted to get my message out there without it being reviewed, so I tried to fix the word troll with a 7. If it's still putting up for review, I think it's because I'm the only one who talks.
Oh, good.
So
no,
therefore, you probably think I'm a troll.
Yeah, well, you are a troll, but that's irrelevant. No, it's the words, and they've probably got themselves programmed to use 7 in case of T. Sometimes, it was or the duplication. Troll us, trolls are all. I'm sure it's the troll, and more trolls. But what can we say, man? When trolls will either show up or they won't show up. Eventually we'll start to get in some traction here. I'm trying to poke ourselves into multiple different places out there, see if I can get some rising here and there. I'm working to make relevant comments on other people's videos, and since it's all done in the name of the Rogues Tavern, maybe some people will wander on over and take a look. Well, what I really got to do is do like a couple of guys I've seen do, and they start poking at the people they're making fun of. They send them direct emails and messages and say, hey, yeah, check this out. We're talking about you over here. And once you get somebody that has any sort of traction somewhere, they see you, and if you get them pissed off, they'll go back to their channel and they'll make fun of you, not realizing that they just did exactly what you want them to do.
Oh, kind of like how Trump got totally free press and everything for his entire election cycle.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't even know who Trump was until his election year, and that's because the press gave him free press.
Yeah, I knew who he was, but I just always ignored him over the years because he was unimportant to me.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine said that the word, like the phrase Trump card, came from Trump. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
I didn't think so.
That the term Trump card has been used since long before Trump was even born.
I thought so, but she was so up in arms about this. She's like, "Oh, we can't even use that." And it's like, "Oh my god."
That's chill, man. That the Trump card did not come from Trump. He appropriated the term and used it.
Yeah, I think his last name was originally Drump or something.
I know it was some other oddball thing. I know that their family's last name. I was his grandfather or somebody who changed it. So. Yeah, they had an oddball last name. No, I don't really pay attention to it. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the primary topic of the show today. If you notice when I was going through the show notes, I've rearranged them a bit this time around to try and get things in a little bit better order. Each show, they'll get better and better and easier to read, and it'll start to make more sense. Make it a hell of a lot easier.
I thought you were just trying to confuse me to make it more entertaining.
Well, there's that too. But this is so I can understand it. Well, if you don't understand it, it's irrelevant since I end up doing I end up doing the majority of the talking anyway. So
because it's hard to talk over you. Even if I tried, generally you just continue talking and I shut up because, well, you taught me not to interrupt my elders.
Well, it's also a man thing. You know, we've learned that if we want to be heard in a group of men, we have to talk over each other. Because men don't shut up, man. They bully their way in, and whichever one can talk the loudest and most is the one that ends up on top.
So what you're saying is I got to grow a pair.
Yeah, you got to grow a pair. You got to grow a pair, and you got to say, hey, wait a minute, you're leaving me behind here. Stop it, shut up, and let me listen to me.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, well, it could be good for you. All right, so where I started at here, this one here came about because of a couple of things I'd heard this week, and this is preparing for survival. We've got a lot of things to worry about these days, folks, and one of them is survival, long-term survival, and dealing with survival in the fact of what would happen if, for instance, you ended up with a grid down situation or life changed or suddenly you were without power for days or a few weeks at a time. I mean, it's happened. I don't think it's happened on the island. Well, it's happened at parts of the island. It's happened. I remember up at my mom's house one year, they lost power for 12 days. 12 days they were without power because of their more remote location. So that sort of thing happens.
In 2007, we lost power on the entire south part of the island for 3 days.
Not here.
I remember that because Ivy was in diapers, and it was a pain in the ass to try to get diapers. I remember that.
Not where I live.
Yes, I was living in Esquimalt at that time in 2007. We initially lost power for only, I think it was like 12 hours, and our power came back, and then we lost it again for 2 more days.
I don't remember having 2-day power outage here.
I sure as hell do. It was huge because it was the entire south part of the island.
Yeah,
Maybe you just blocked it out of your memory.
No, I would remember that. 2007, that was a decent year.
It definitely happened that year.
Life was still pretty good.
Maybe 2008?
No, I don't know. Life didn't get miserable until 2012.
Ivy was still in diapers at that time, and I remember very specifically because that was when I started carrying cash with me because I couldn't buy her diapers. Yeah,
well, cash is always important, and the cash will be needed, but if things really go south, the plastic cash, because we don't have paper cash in Canada anymore. All our money is plastic and imitation coins. They're imitation metals. I think they're just plated metals. Plated nickel, I think they are. So, so they have no intrinsic value whatsoever. And if an extended situation happens, that money becomes worthless. Coins might be usable as a denomination of selling things, but a $2 coin won't be worth anything. What will be worth things is if you happen to have old, what they call junk silver. And that is all silver coins in Canada previous to, I think Canada got rid of their silver around 1970. The United States got rid of their silver coins in 1964. 65, I mean. 65, because 64 was last year they put out silver coins. So you want the silver coins, dimes, quarters, and half dollars and dollars if you got them, because those will become real money again. Those will definitely be real money. Silver and any gold bits, but no, gold is so much more valuable and always has been. So you'll always want to have some cash around, or if you can get junk coins. And right now, unfortunately, buying silver, even junk silver, is very expensive because there's a serious shortage of silver out there.
Actually, if you go to secondhand shops and you check out the shop for silverware, you can get pure silver spoons. Mostly spoons.
You got to find the right secondhand shop, because some secondhand shops have the people doing the stuff have realized that those silver spoons are actually worth money.
Yeah, but a lot of, like, if you know how to look for silver, you can definitely spot them.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I know how to check how to recognize silver because I'm allergic to every metal except silver and gold. And even eating off of something that's not silver kind of makes my tummy upset. Yeah. So I have mostly actual silverware. I don't take very good care of it, but I have it.
The interesting thing about silver is, did you know silver is an antiseptic?
Yes, I did.
And they hospitals used that's why they had to polish the doorknobs on hospitals and stuff, because they were silver plated with a very thick plating of silver. So that and it was because it lowered infection rates by using silver doorknobs and such.
And I remember when you were doing photography, and even when I was doing photography, and like
I was never sick.
Yeah, what's the word? Developing your own film. Like I remember I turned my bedroom into a dark room when I was a teenager. And when you're developing your own film, you don't get sick. You like maybe catch a cold for a day or so, but that's it. It's gone.
Yeah, you're constantly exposed to silver oxide. Silver oxide.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, if you back in the day of being a black and white photographer and developing my own film, is if I'd known about it and thought about it, all the chemicals I would pour out and dispose of, the leavings behind from developing the film was actually silver, and if you collected it, you could have purified it back up into silver chunks. That's a lot of.
I never thought about that.
That's a lot of silver that's tossed down the drain. Not anymore, because nobody does black and white photography except artists, and they don't use enough film to make it worthwhile anymore because film's so expensive now.
So expensive. Oh my goodness. I went to look at film prices for my camera. Yeah. I can't afford that.
Yeah, film. Well, that's because there's no places that have developing machines anymore. It's not super common, and as I predicted way back in the mid 2000s when digital was starting to catch on, I went, well, what's going to happen is photography's going to be like painting. It's going to be an totally artistic thing. It's not going to be cheap to do, because buying the stuff, I've still got all my darkroom equipment. All I need to do is buy film and the chemicals, which are still available, but cost 3 times as much as they did when I was doing it all the time. I used to be able to buy a 25-foot roll of film for $25. No, it was a 100-foot roll of film for $25, and last time I priced it was $100 for the 100-foot roll of film.
Oh, it's gotten more since then. Last time I went and priced a 100-foot roll, it was like $200.
Oh, I haven't priced in a while, so I don't know. I don't have the ability to get back into photography, and if you don't store that stuff properly, it doesn't last long enough to use it.
Although, doesn't shoving it in the freezer help?
No, not long term.
No.
It's good short term stuff for protecting the film, but long term it will destroy it because of the moisture. You remember how much more freezers collect and release and dry? They're constantly moving between high and low moisture in the freezer, and it's not good.
Yeah,
that's how your food gets freezer burned if it's not vacuum sealed. It's because of the moisture, and it just damages it. It damages it long term. It's like batteries. They say keep them in the fridge. No, it's actually not good for them, it turns out.
No, but if you put them in there for 24 hours, it helps them.
Yeah, well, it's not good for them because, and then as I learn more and more about this new battery age we're trying to go into with all electric cars and stuff, until they solve some of the basic problems of the batteries not performing well in cold temperatures. And once it gets below freezing in particular, the batteries drain at like twice the rate.
Oh, man.
So it's like, and so, those cars that only have a distance now of about 250 miles or 300 kilometers or so, they'll have half that distance and take them twice as long to charge. Yeah. Well, I noticed it when I was using my camera last outdoors last spring and winter when it was cold, is that the battery didn't last very long. It would last about half the time it normally lasts when it's outside and it's down near zero. And it's just because they don't hold up in the temperatures.
You know what I don't understand? I don't understand why they don't just move to nuclear batteries. I've read all the research.
A nuclear battery
would last so well.
I've never heard of a nuclear battery.
A nuclear battery is essentially a small piece of nuclear power wrapped inside. I can't even remember the name of the substance. It was a few years ago that I read about this. But
all right, you'll have to bring that information to the show because I've never seen that. I've never heard of it.
I'll be there for next week.
This one I would like to see because not I don't automatically dismiss things, but this one sounds kind of hokey to me.
Okay, I will have to bring you the research because it's actually very solid research.
Yeah, well, okay. All right, well, let's pop into what we're starting with, the survival stuff. First, I've got a couple of articles and kind of interesting. And it comes from the website askaprepper.com. Really good website. They've often got a lot of really great articles there, new stuff, and they've got so much old content there. It's amazing. And first, the article from them here is it talks about what it requires to deal with things in an emergency situation. Doesn't even have to be full-blown SHTF. It can just be, several days without power or transportation or any number of things that are not as bad. But what they talk in this article here in particular, it's like 18th century survival skills that'll be life-saving. And you think they're going to give you a list of skills you need in this article. But the interesting thing is they don't. They give you a list of skills, but you don't even realize they're skills unless you're paying attention. It's like the first one that pops up is common sense.
That is in low stock today.
It's definitely in short supply these days. Common sense is, yes, seriously in short supply. Everywhere you go, it's in short supply. But what they're talking about in this article here is they're talking about common sense of, okay, I think my throat's feeling a little swollen here, and it's not my throat, but the little glands there in the corner of your throat. You can tell when you're picking up a bug because those things swell up. Mm-hmm. And you're like, maybe I should get a little more than 2 hours of sleep tonight, and maybe I should eat a little bit more food. You start to realize, okay, I need to take a little better care of myself just so my body can repair. Because if I push myself too hard when the beginnings start in, you're going to get miserable. But this is the common sense they're talking about here is more about the common sense of sometimes a modern solution won't be available for you to solve a problem. For instance, if you get a cut, what are you going to use for antiseptic on it? What do you figure most modern people think about when they think about antiseptics or cleaning out a cut besides soap and water?
I guess not honey like me.
Well, no, not honey like you. Me, I think of alcohol first, but then I think of the booze, drinking alcohol. Any 40 proof plus alcohol can be used as antiseptic.
True. I always think of honey first because I always have honey in my house, like real honey. But I guess most people would think about the stuff in the brown bottle. What's it called? I don't know,
brown fizzy stuff that kids scream. Makes kids scream.
My mom used to call it bubbly juice, but it wasn't bubbly or juice.
Well, it becomes bubbly when it hits an infection point.
It sure does.
An infected point. It gets all bubbly. Hydrogen peroxide. I knew the name would pop in my head. But but that or rubbing alcohol or something else, or what they're using today to clean their hands, the overabundance of alcohol, rubbing alcohol everywhere.
Oh, I have a huge rant on that for later.
Yeah, well, that'll be fun. All right, so they've got that. People aren't stopping to use their common sense. What else can be used? Yes, I know you've got modern solutions for multiple things, but what would happen if you didn't have that modern solution? How would you do it? Another item is lack of daring. And lack of daring is a big one. It's like all of a sudden they're presented with something. You've got a pretty nasty cut there. It needs stitches. There's no way in hell you can get anywhere near a hospital. There's no doctors within distance of you. What are you going to do? You know, you could try to tape it up, but suppose you have a needle in the right kind of threads. You think you could sew someone up? You know, couldn't be. Well, I take that back, man. There's a lot of people don't even know how to sew a button on a shirt nowadays.
Really?
Yeah, really. Yes, really.
I have actually stitched someone up before. That it was weird. Skin is very different from material.
Well, it's thick.
It's thick and very, very stretchy. People would be amazed at how stretchy skin is. Man.
No, not if you've cleaned an animal, you wouldn't be, because they've got
True.
skin too. So anyway, lack of daring. Daring to do something. You know, how do you find out what you can do unless you try to do it? You know, do you know if you can accomplish it unless you try it? Well, even experts out there, I always love it's the thing that always comes to mind when I want to argue with somebody about, oh, this guy's got a college degree. Well, who decided his college degree was worthy? All right, go all the way back to who created the college degrees. Now, and the guy who created a college degree, did he ever get a college degree?
That is a good damn question.
You know, it's like, okay, we got doctors and they got to get all this schooling done. Okay, well, I can sort of understand it. They need, because of all the crap now. But, you know, once upon a time, all it took would be a doctor was to study and learn all the things necessary and become extremely proficient at it. Like lawyering used to be the same thing, too. You could teach yourself.
And learn.
Yeah, you could teach yourself to be a lawyer, and you just go in and start practicing law. You didn't have to sign up for a bar or any other kind of stuff. And it used to be like that. You know, who decided it? Well, somewhere back, someone decided it, but how did they get their degree? You know, they never got a degree. They just became the most expert at it. And that's the whole thing. It's like, well, you're not an expert. Well, who decided the experts were experts? Someone in a school somewhere? What did they do? They passed a test. It's a really fun argument for someone who's willing to follow it all the way down the rabbit hole into, well, what happens when you get all the way back to when they were first created? Oh, I don't know. And that's where their argument falls completely apart. Because they can argue. I
never thought of doing that. That's pretty cool.
They can argue it back all the way until when the degree was first created. Before the degree was created by certain people, they never got a degree, because there was no one to give them a degree. But yet they created the degree and demanded the degree. And then what happened is more and more people accept it. It goes down a couple hundred years, and then it becomes an absolute necessity thing.
I never thought of that. That is a pretty cool point.
All right, so they talk about those skills here, and then they give you a couple of things that you can learn that are really simple. One of them is, you know, having a walking stick when you're out and about is a pretty useful thing. Always a good thing to have. One that I like to teach scouts and stuff is estimating the time until sunset. This could be a very important thing and could one day save your life. If you're out and about and you've gotten lost somewhere and the sun's starting to look like it's going down and you don't know what you got to do, and now you've got to get you don't have your watch, your cell phone battery died, and you have no idea what time it is when the sun's setting down, and you need to get a shelter up or it's going to be really cold. Well, you can stick your hand up towards the sky and the horizon, and the number of fingers that is between the horizon and the edge of the sun is the amount of time left until the sun goes down. And it's in 15-minute increments for every finger you can put up between your hand and the sun going down. And
random question.
Yep.
Do you know of a way to tell the time until sunset when you're stuck in the middle of a bloody forest?
No, you're kind of screwed because you can't see the sun.
I actually do know a way.
Oh, really? What would it be? If you're in the middle of a forest and you can't see the sun and it's not hitting the floor in any way, shape, or form, how would you know where the sun is even at?
You don't know where the sun is at, and you can't measure it. But from my experience over the many, many years, I have learned that if you can't count 3 trees away easily and see the leaves 3 trees away, you have about half an hour till the sun goes down.
I'll have to test
that. It's a
that.
very interesting thing, and it has never let me down.
I'll have to test that theory. Okay. Never heard it. That's a new one for me. I will have to test that one.
It's an amber theory. Please do test it because that would be great.
All right, this is another one. If you have to bug out of an area, go off to whatever secondary location you want to get to, and you can't get there by car, and now you have to travel on foot, people tend to forget the one thing about traveling on foot. They always think about traveling on foot like they were still in a city, with nice sidewalks and everything. On a sidewalk, you can cover upwards of 4 kilometers an hour. 5 kilometers an hour, or you guys do the math. I'm not doing the English version for those of you to pick it up. You've got a calculator. You got Google. Go look it up. Anyway, 5 kilometers an hour. The problem is, though, once you start going over rough ground, that drops in half, by a third, by a quarter. It drops all the way down to about 3/4 to 1.5 kilometers an hour going through thick forest or over tree branches. If you're going through thick forest, I already know this from when I went hunting this year. If you're going through thick forest or really harsh terrain, you get down to about just under 0.5 kilometers an hour. It takes a lot longer to go because, one, you want to make sure every step counts, because even when you're going through making every step counts, it's still easy to slip. I almost broke my leg while hunting alone. That would have been pleasant. Yeah. That would have been unpleasant.
Very much so.
That means I would have had to actually use my emergency come get me fucked button.
There's another aspect too, which a lot of people seem to forget about. Even though parents are used to moving slower with kids, they don't really take into account how the kids will respond if they need to hit the road with the kids.
Yeah.
That's another major aspect, because even though your march is going to be cut in half or down to 1/4 of what it would normally be due to the terrain, you also got to take into consideration the breaks and the tantrums and the emotional outbursts of your children, if you have children.
Yeah.
That's another thing, too, that a lot of people don't think about, surprisingly.
Yep, that's true. All right, and then they got a couple others here. How to maintain a direction while walking in a forest. If you don't have your compass on you, you don't have a GPS or a watch, or you can't see the sun. It was an interesting thing, and it was, because if your inner sense of direction, unless you spend your life in that particular forest, it's going to fail you, because there will always be something unfamiliar. But one of the things they suggest, one of the things that a lot of people do when they get lost in a forest is they start to pass the trees on one side of them. If a tree, because eventually you walk in a straight line, you're going to run into a tree. And so what happens is they would pass the tree on one side. Well, what that would happen is that would start to force them in a circle. Because every time you run into a tree, if you move by it on the right, you would move over a few inches on the right every time you ran into a tree. Which could very well, and what they suggested to do is every other tree, alternate which side of the tree you pass on every other tree.
Like doing a snake dance.
Yeah, well, something sounded interesting. And then, of course, yes, it's true, you can navigate with moss in the northern hemispheres. Even though moss does grow on the south side of a tree sometimes, or on other sides of the trees, the thing that's key that not a lot of people think of is, it's got moss on it all over. It's on this side here. It's where the vast majority, the big, thick, giant clump grows, is on the north side. And you can check that with a compass.
For the bald spots.
Yeah, and then they've got some other things to do in here that aren't all really useful. But what I thought was most interesting in here was the top 2 things they talked about. Or top 3 things was common sense, daring, and an initiative, which is something that I don't think enough people prepare for when they're preparing their survival stuff. They don't prepare for what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to dare to do stuff and dare to go out and challenge things. And they're going to have to take initiative. Because, already in this world today, we have the vast majority who won't make a decision or trust their instincts. You can just judge that by the state of the world we're in.
Yeah.
So they'll be looking for a leader. And,
hey,
what?
Hey, Dad. I'm sorry, but I will be right back.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll have to pop into some music here. Something to get some entertainment. All right, let's go with this.
Don't claim to know your story, don't even have my own. In the search for glory, gone with them sacred rules of old. They went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Preacher man discovered, passed down from saint to sage, like a kind-hearted lover who's been lost on this stage. Went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Texan dancer will move it right along. Went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Junkie and the jigger just seen who done the crime. Captain pulled the trigger, guess who's doing time? They went missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads. Is he yours or is he mine? Search for glory, gone with them sacred rules of old. We're missing down Highway 49. Devil's at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Devil's at a crossroads, Joker's doing fine. Just sitting doing time.
Okay. You back?
Hello. Yeah, I'm back.
All right. So let's pop into the second article here. This is one here that's sort of related to the first and partly related on what we talked about, is making an antiseptic out of sugar. And it's what?
An iodine.
Yes, sugar and iodine. And it's something that can be stored for an extended period of time, which is useful. So if you get iodine, you get some good 10% iodine, and you can mix up this antiseptic, which works like a paste, which is extremely important if you get a really good cut, even a small cut. And it's one thing that people don't realize today, is that if we didn't have our modern amenities of running water, fresh running water, lots of fresh running water, and the antiseptics and everything else, we would be in a world of hurt. People used to die from a cut on their pinky.
Yeah.
Okay, because that cut might get infected. And if that gets infected and they can't stop the infection, it will kill a person, or they'll lose their hand. One of the two. But sometimes they take the hand and it's, the infection's already escaped all the way up into the body or an arm, and they just take the person a piece at a time. Ooh, that's horrid. So, at any rate, making this is a really good one. You'll want to follow this link in here if you're interested in it. It's a really simple recipe, but it tells you what to do, and it tells you a little bit about how the antiseptic can be used, which is always useful. Now, I do have one more. Before we wander on out off of this area, there's another interesting article. It was a really good article. It's a very long read. It's about a woman who lived alone for 10 months, living completely off the grid, within walking distance of a bit of a home area, And it's a really good article, and I did like it. But one thing that caught my eye down at the bottom, it just brought forth a Mandela effect item. And it's because I think we talked about it one time, the Statue of Liberty, the Mandela effect of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, yes.
Okay. It's like I used to know people when I grew up that climbed to the top of the Liberty's torch, and now you can't get up there, and it's because of a German what's the word I'm looking for? Not infiltration. Sabotage, a German sabotage in the New York harbor of a depot that had ammunition that blew up, and it blew holes in the Statue of Liberty. And it's like, wait a minute.
So therefore, nobody ever was able to go in it.
But what was interesting was, aside from that problem there that occurred, there was also the problem of, wait a sec, when did the Statue of Liberty be attached to the mainland? It used to be an island, Liberty Island, when I was a kid.
Wait, isn't it still an island?
No, it's not an island by itself.
Oh, bloody hell. That's one I missed.
Oh, well, that's interesting. And it's like, okay, so what this got me though was, here she is in here. She's talking about her dad, and her dad teaching her some things, and they're going out on their camp outs and other things. And she goes, her and her dad had climbed the inside of the Statue of Liberty all the way to the torch. And it's like, wait a minute.
I see that.
Yes. And this woman here, she tells you in the article she's somewhere in her 50s, so she's about my age, so that would make perfect sense. But it's a really interesting article, and it was just that Mandela effect that kicked me off. I was like, really, I'm not going down the Mandela effect hole today, so I didn't go down the Mandela effect hole. That might be something to bring to the show one time, is the Mandela effect hole.
Definitely.
Because that one's always interesting, because every time I go looking, there's something new. There's something new, and then there's something that's no longer in the Mandela effect. Have you had that happen to you yet?
Yes. That one song that lost its The End of the World or something.
We are the champions? Right now. We are the champions?
Yes, we are the champions
of the world. Okay.
Yeah, we're champions of the world. For a while, it didn't have the end where it said of the world, and now it does again. So that's weird.
It doesn't have it yet again.
It doesn't?
No. Unless
I heard it again recently.
That's something. You should have recorded it, man. Good God.
I should have, but maybe it would have been deleted off my phone. I don't know how this Mandela thing works, man.
Well, the Mandela thing is as we slip amongst the multiple variants of our universe, as we slip, each variant has a small percentage different of things. Okay, because they're not identical. They're going to be close, and the closer you are to the reality you slip into, it's like realities are side by side, they're neighbors. If you slip from one neighbor to another, the difference might be the difference between a red or a blue crayon or something. I'm trying to think of something simple, and I couldn't. So it would be small things, and then the more you slip, the more greater the difference is. It's kind of like the Hindenburg. There were no survivors in the Hindenburg in my reality. Now there's survivors to the Hindenburg.
I know a simpler one.
What?
Where the red light and the green light are in traffic lights. When I was a kid, the red light was at the top. Now the red light is at the bottom.
Red light's at the top. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. The other way around then. When I was a kid, it was at the bottom. Now it's at the top.
Well, then you're not from my reality, because when you were a kid, they were at the top.
You say that, but I lived in all different places.
Well, different countries put them in different orders. That I can tell you. North America has its...
U.S. and Canada put it in the same spot.
Yeah, which they put the red at the top, yellow in the middle, green at the bottom.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I was coloring
there's a reason for that.
It was green at the top.
There's a reason for that. It's for the 25% of the men that don't know red from green. or blue from green, or have red blue
Yes.
red blue color blindness, red green color.
But it was opposite when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well,
The only reason I remember that is because of my grade 2 memory
Okay.
of the teacher.
okay. Well.
That teacher was scary but really cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. We've got some random stuff for you to go on about.
Yay, random stuff. Well, before I get into any of that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring up my sanitizer rant, even though it's not in the list.
Oh, it's not in your list. Okay. Sanitizer rant. Go ahead with sanitizer rant.
Yes, my sanitizer rant is as follows. When I was pregnant with my firstborn,
Mm-hmm.
I went to all the baby classes and I went to the after baby classes and, I showed off my newborn baby and we talked and chatted and everything. And one of the main things that they really, really drilled into our heads was how you cannot have sanitizer on your hand when that baby is born because the baby will suck it off of your hand
Mm-hmm.
and it will end up killing all the good bacteria in its little tiny tummy,
Yeah.
and it will get very, very ill.
Yes.
And now we are supposed to put freaking sanitizer on, which for the most part I've managed to get by just pretending to pump it on my hand.
That's
and
what I
rubbing
still
my
do.
hand as
If someone wants me to force it, I pretend to pump it on my hand and then I cup it and then I do it a quick rub and nothing. I only ended up on one hand one time because when I had to go into the hospital to do something, they forced it on me. They sprayed my hands.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Well,
yeah, and I ended
sometimes-
up on one and I ended up wiping it really in a horrible way on my jacket just to show my disapproval. Sorry.
But now automatic dispenser machines are starting to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to put your hand under the damn thing in order to enter the damn store. I went into MEC the other day with Sean,
Mm-hmm.
and I had questions about sleeping mats and other things I really wanted answered. So when I was going in there, I just, I was going to ignore it, but the lady stopped me and was like, no, you have to put this on your hands. So I put the damn stuff on my hands.
At that
But
moment
since-
there, I would have said, I'm highly allergic to it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure she would have kicked us out because it was that kind of feeling.
Mm,
The feeling of, if you don't do this, you're not allowed.
yeah.
Shame on you. Feast come
Yeah, I learned something I've been doing it anyway, but I learned something today. If you put a pair of headphones in, and I always listen to stuff when I walk in anyway, you walk in with headphones and you pay no attention to what they say, you just ignore them, even though you see them, just keep looking straight ahead. They might, and if they say something to you, don't respond and just keep walking. And because you got headphones in, either they'll notice them or they won't. And if they do or they come close to you, you can spin around and take your headphones out like, huh? And what are you doing so close?
Oh, I am so going to use that next time.
The headphone trick works great. I use it all the time and that's the way I ignore everyone. Most of the time I'm actually listening to a book or something anyway, but
Nice.
sometimes I'm not listening to anything, but I have the headphones in and I just ignore them.
Well, back to my rant here.
Yeah.
I remember, admittedly, this was like back in 2006/7, so maybe it's out of date. But the idea that we couldn't put hand sanitizer on our hands until the children were at least 4 years old and stopped eating their own hands,
Mm-hmm.
because it would literally put our children in hospital. And now we are putting this crap on our children
Mm-hmm.
younger than 2, and we're forcing it into their little systems. And on top of that, I've noticed that kids who actually put the hand sanitizer on every freaking time, they're getting chemical burns.
Some of them are,
Like-
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Because
They're-
it's not good for you. Extended use of
No.
hand sanitizer, it's a short-term solution for an emergency situation. Because it doesn't, and it's also along the lines of what they were doing to everyone in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, almost into the 90s. And they were making everything with antibacterial toys, antibacterial toothbrushes, antibacterial butt wipes, antibacterial everything. And then they noticed we had a sudden increase in the amount of bacteria that could survive antibiotics.
Yeah. Bugs don't need drugs. Wasn't that on
that's
everything just 2 years ago?
That's what came around in the mid 2000s because they realized they had been overusing antibiotics for 25 years. And of course, bacteria multiply at a faster rate than anything else. And they, like everything else, they evolve to the strongest thing. And if the ones start surviving the antibacterial stuff can duplicate, those are what's going to multiply, and they'll get stronger.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. And that's exactly what happened. We created our own problem.
And at the same time, whenever you use that crap, you're killing off the good bugs as well as the bad bugs.
Yep, that's the problem. It's indiscriminate.
Which means that every time you're killing off all the bugs, you're actually opening yourself up to all of the crap that's going to make you sick in between.
Yep.
Like, as soon as you leave that goddamn store that you use the freaking hand sanitizer in, you are now a free feeding ground to all the bugs that live on the street, the air, everything. And you are a tasty feeding ground because they're all going to attack you because you don't have any good bugs to fight off their bad bugs.
Well, here's another way to get around it too. And one of my boys has done this for school. Is he found a small empty bottle of the spray hand sanitizer stuff and filled it full of water.
Perfect.
And insists upon, oh, no, I'll use my own. I'm allergic to so many things. I'll use my own. So that's another thing too. And then they can't argue with that.
Perfect.
And then you spray it, put your bottle away, and then you rub your hands and you walk off.
Nice.
I've known a couple of people. I've suggested that one to a couple of people too. That I don't know if they've tried it yet or not, but it is a solution to get around it because everyone sees you do something, they think you do something, they feel much better. And that's all it takes nowadays, is to give people the illusion of happiness. They don't actually want it, they just want the illusion. They all want to go back to sleep. Unfortunately, I woke up and you know what? You can never be put back in the matrix.
No, you can't.
It can't be done. Once you're woken up, you can never go back.
That brings me to the next whole list of my stuff to go on about.
Okay.
Which is like things like how society is killing us. We're getting weaker rather than stronger, both mentally and physically. And this is a perfect example. I mean, how much of the population is actually okay with this? And how much of the population is totally against this, but we're still freaking doing it because we don't want to get in trouble and find ourselves in shit.
Right now, it's around 50-50.
Me personally, I know that I have issues with the ministry. And if I go against whatever the edict says, then I'm going to be up with the ministry again, and they're going to be they're going to be looking into me again.
That's the problem. Is lots of people have lots of reasons. That might be they need their job, they need this sort of thing needs to be done. And that's why we as a society have given up so many of our rights over the last 125 years.
Yeah.
And it's partly with civilization comes softness. With softness, it just destroys it. That follows back to one of our primary taglines that hangs in here. It's, hard times make good men make good times, good men make soft men, or good times make soft men make hard times. Well, we made such good times for the last, I guess
75 years.
Just over 75, about 70 years. 3 generations, three and a half generations, and it's about right for the third generation. Cause you talk about, people, there's, generational wealth does exist. It's generations because they have very big families and they are so brutal. They're so psychotic and evil that nothing else can happen. They're the elite. Well, let's take an example of an average person, really decently high intelligence, goes out there, makes a lot of money, does all this so that his kids can live a better life, and leaves them a reasonable fortune left. So they're a second generation of all this money. The first one makes it, the second ones start to spend it, and the third ones go bankrupt. Third generation bankrupts, because the second generation starts spending it, and yet they still sort of work and they still sort of appreciate the dollar. But now their kids, they raise their kids up. Oh, they didn't ever ask they anything. They go do drugs. Oh, we'll call the police and we'll get that charge taken away. Oh, you got busted for this? Oh, no. You're not responsible. It's not your fault. Your silver spoon got stuck sideways in your ass coming out instead of straight down. You have a handicap. So, but anyway, that's what they did. And so by the time it gets to the third generation doesn't know how to make it. And they're just spending it and spending it and spending it. And they just go bankrupt because they don't know how to make money. They never had respect for where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot with fortunes. First generation makes it. Second generation starts spending it and can still sort of make it. Third generation does nothing but spend it. Spends it into bankruptcy.
For a long time, though, the tradition was to take your offspring and throw them into the lowest ranks and force them to work their way up. And if they couldn't work their way up, they wouldn't be able to take over your company. You'd end up passing it over to a partner or something.
That's what the elites do, or the ones that have multi-generational wealth. They still do that to this day. In those ones, they take their kids as soon as their kid gets to the point of being able to work. He's usually about 8, 9 years old. They kick him down to the bottom floor and give him a shovel or a broom, and so they start cleaning.
That's smart.
Well, the thing is, it teaches them the value of it, but also what it does, it teaches them the company. They learn the company the same way the originator created the company, from the bottom up.
But that is something that has seriously been lost in the general scope of the population.
It's only happened in the last 2 generations.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Really.
Well, for my generation, I got to experience being brought to work by you and by mom when mom had a job.
Yeah.
I was brought to work. I was taught the hard work that went into getting that damn paycheck.
Oh yeah, well yes, but they don't do that nowadays. In fact, they completely discourage. There's no longer. When I was a kid, there was a join your father work day. You know,
they don't have that now.
Not now. They don't bring the kids in to see everything and see what everything is.
But also, you're not allowed to bring your kid to the workplace at all now.
Yeah,
it's illegal.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that. They need them. They need them to be in the indoctrination centers, man. Can't let those kids out of there.
I don't know if you even know this, but it's actually illegal for you to allow your child out of your sight until they're 10 years old.
It's a gray legal, and I remember that one because I dealt with it. I researched the law on it because I was trying to boot my kids out of the house. It's a gray. It's not fully illegal, but BC. There's a few places where it is illegal. BC is not. So
it really depends on your history because
that's something entirely different. We're not even going to go down that path. That's something entirely different. That's the Ministry of Re-Education trying to take control of kids so that the kids are brought up not thinking and as the usual leftards. So that's the minute.
Well, that's a major part of my upbringing, though.
Unfortunately, not from me.
In your generation, that was still kind of a thing. Bringing your kids to work, kicking them out of the house.
I know. That's the problem you have. You have that one there. So, yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, I would literally tell you and mom, I'm going out exploring, and you just leave me alone, tell me when to come home. Yeah, that was it.
Well, that's what I do now. But at any rate, so let's move along to something else here.
Okay. Okay, well, spirituality and natural behavior instincts cooped up and locked away to keep from offending anyone.
All right.
That's a major issue
explain this one to me.
now.
You're going to have to explain this. I'm not understanding this statement one iota.
All right, so, I'm going to start with the natural behavior. Mm-hmm. The natural behavior is, for instance, men especially. If, for instance, you're crossing the street.
It's a sentence structure. Okay, now I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about the human spirituality and man's natural behaviors to not be sitting on his ass and go socialize.
Not only that, but for instance, as I was trying to say,
you were trying to say men are assholes. Let's not go down that one right now either.
No, I'm not saying that at all. Actually,
well, that's where it sounds like.
No. Men are protective. If you're crossing the street with your child or with your partner, men especially, because men are especially protective, but a parent in general, a mother or a father, if you're crossing the street and a car just about hits you or your child, you're going to react in a very aggressive way. You're going to yell, you're going to scream.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, if you yell or scream, you can be charged. You can receive detrimental effects from having a natural reaction. And in order to stay within the society's rules right now, you have to kill that natural instinct of protecting your child or your partner. And you have to hide the fact that your child or your partner was just about hit by that car. And you have to pretend that you aren't mad, that you can just pretend it didn't happen. And if you don't do that, you can have the cops called on you, you can be charged, you can be arrested for aggressive action, whatever.
Right.
And that is a major infraction on our natural instinct.
Oh, okay.
And natural behavior.
Yeah.
Our spirituality, the way that we have been separated, the way that we've been cut off from each other, not just the way the churches have been shut down due to COVID, but also the way that people are being encouraged to interact over internet. And we haven't just been encouraged since the COVID. We've been encouraged for the last 8 years at least to interact online versus in person, because it's so much easier to interact in person, ask the company about things in person.
Right.
I mean, my 12 and 14-year-old barely understand how to have an appropriate phone conversation, because they don't have to have phone conversations. They have conversations over internet. Even though they're homeschooled, every time that they interact with their teachers, it's usually through email, not on a phone.
Yeah.
And they're essentially lacking the basic manners that I was taught on a phone by the time I was 9. This extreme removal of all interaction except through words on a screen is really affecting our spirituality, because we're being so completely separated from the person that we're interacting with.
Right.
And I think it's affecting everyone all across the board. It's not
I'm sure
just small places.
I'm sure it is. You can see the rats starting to go crazy in the cages already.
Yes.
You're starting to see it. I mean, I caught a news article this evening that a landlord has finally snapped, and it was a landlord who the people weren't paying his bills and whatnot. So he went in with a couple of people. He took the tenants, put a bag over their head, zip tied their hands together, and dumped them in a graveyard.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's kind of extreme, but okay.
you got to consider he's probably not been getting his rent for almost a year. And I don't care what kind of landlord you have, even if you've got a total slumlord, he's still got bills to pay. And he's got mortgages to pay on his properties. Even his slums have got mortgages on them. And so if he doesn't get his measly rent from you, he can't pay his mortgage. Then there's also whatever maintenance you do. If you happen to be in a good building or a good manager, they keep things repaired. If not, you're in a place that, waiting for it to fall apart. But the point being is that they've still got bills to pay, and eventually they're going to need the money. And some people have a higher tolerance before they snap than others. Well, this guy here is the bottom of the snapping chain.
Well, I suppose he didn't leave a dead body in the graveyard, so
no,
that's a bonus.
That's a bonus. He's just getting charged with kidnapping, which is almost as bad as murder. But I'm sure it scared the shit out of those tenants. Oh
yeah, definitely.
Especially when they pulled the hoods off and they found out they were in a graveyard.
Yep.
So yeah, it's we're definitely going down the path of how much destruction can we do to the human spirit right now.
Which brings me to the last little point here, which is killing our natural instincts with the world we have today.
Oh yeah.
Like our natural instincts of protection. Or my biggest thing is I was deemed a bad parent because I started teaching my girls about everything they needed to know about the human body growing or the natural urges or what have you.
Yeah.
I didn't make it weird. I just told them what was happening.
Yeah.
But the issue is that I was deemed a bad parent and they were deemed bad kids for having this knowledge because they had this knowledge without having to search Google for it.
Yeah,
They got it directly from me.
or not getting it from the school with their tilted versions of it.
Yeah, and the questions that my kids asked were rather pointed, you know, because they had the basics. They wanted to know more.
Yeah, well,
And
that's why it works with kids.
yeah, but it's like I was deemed a bad parent and they were deemed bad kids because of this knowledge, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But when I look at the world we have today, we're killing our natural instincts and we're refusing as a society to teach our children about anything about growing up because we're all consumed with the idea of children are completely innocent of any desires or any thoughts past like age 5.
Yeah. Well, we're not supposed to teach our kids anyway, man. We're supposed to leave it to the government to do it for us.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be good slaves and just let the government teach your kids because we need to train them to tell on you later.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I failed at that.
Well,
but
I failed at it miserably too.
What really bothers me is the fact that like my girls' friends at school ended up going to my girls for answers. And what I realized is if this is how most of the kids are out there, then they're going to their friends for answers. And what answers are they getting? What is it that they're learning as gospel when they don't have the actual fact? Like, say my kids weren't there and their friends were still curious. Who would they ask? They'd probably ask each other. And then all of these kids who had no freaking clue would be Googling it. And what kind of answers would they be coming up with?
Yeah.
That's a pretty scary thought when you think about it.
Oh, it absolutely is.
And that's really, really disturbing. And that brings on the idea of our natural instincts, our desires, our wants, our needs. What is it that most of the world is fulfilling? How are we fulfilling it?
Well, they're fulfilling it with this wonderful thing here. This article here. It comes from the Babylon Bee. The Bee's Guide to Being Woke. Problem is I think I bet they think they wrote this as satire. Okay. First off, this is the thing. It got me first. I was like, wait a minute. This is on the satire version of. This is not the bee, but it is the bee. Because you got the bee and you got not. You got the bee and you got not the bee. So this one here is from the bee. This is supposed to be satire. Okay. First off, how to be woke. Carefully choose your pronouns and then scream them at everyone you meet. Well, that sounds about right.
Oh, yeah, that sounds. I think they're getting their shit mixed up.
I think so. Well, let me get this one. Select the most oppressed identity possible. Okay, wait a minute, guys. No. This is supposed to be parody. Compare everything to Nazis. Learn to hate the right people. Pre-order David Hogg's Good Pillow. It's like, oh, no, guys, you were supposed to write satire. And that's the problem with the world today. You can't, it's really getting hard to tell satire from non-satire, such as, this lovely one that comes from not the bee is that Coca-Cola, their posts are getting ratioed for their Be Less White training video.
Wait, what?
Yeah, well, okay, you're gonna love this. Okay, hang on a sec. I got that one already picked out for showing. Just gotta find it because I put it in the wrong spot because I put it as the insanity gets worse. Here it is. Okay.
Wrong pocket?
Yeah. All right, watch. Listen to this. This is gonna be great.
But people say it's beyond parody. Yeah. I think we actually have a video from LinkedIn, a mandatory training video for Coca-Cola, because these are the front lines of the race war.
And every moment that I spend in white space, I am being deeply reinforced in the white worldview. Oh, why can't we all just be human beings here? Why do we have to talk about race? I'm going to invalidate your experience. I'm a fish and I'm in water and I'm moving with the current and you're trying to take me out of the water and it's unbearable.
At first, I thought I was.
Can I
I thought
pause?
that white space was like a new.
Yeah. What's that?
I'm sorry, I gotta pause that because she literally just said the more time I spend in white space, and then went on to talk about how she just wanted
yes.
to be people, and it,
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hold that thought in.
Okay. So this is what I mean, man. It's really getting hard, really hard to tell the difference between parody and what has become reality.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, this is a serious thing, right?
This is serious. This is making the rounds right. This was a training video from Coca-Cola to their employees about being too white.
I'll bet you that by this time next year, Santa Claus is black.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that. They're working on it. Where is the one that somebody did here? Somebody did the best parody ever for what Coca-Cola has done with to fight white supremacy. Coca-Cola discontinues vanilla Coke. Dun dun dun. Hello.
I'm still here. I'm laughing.
Oh,
man.
it went totally silent, so I couldn't hear any laughter. I'm thinking, wait a minute, did we kill her? What happened?
Well, I don't know. The ridiculousness that might have stopped my heart is possible.
You know, and they go on to say all varieties of vanilla Coke from cherry vanilla and orange vanilla to vanilla vanilla will be pulled from the shelves. Somebody,
really?
No, this is not true. That's actually satire.
See, like I said, I can't tell the difference anymore.
This was someone trolling Coca-Cola. This was someone trolling.
The problem is it might seem real.
The problem is it does seem real. Yes. See, this is our problem we've got in the world today. It's like going back to this list. There's a couple more items here. This list: vote for policies that sound virtuous, no matter how much they actually harm people of color. Always have extremely low expectations of minorities. Abandon religion and instead accept everything the woke crowd believes without question. Achieve inner peace by constantly beating yourself up for not doing better. It's like, this is written by the when did they write this? I should check the date on it. Oh, they don't have dates on their stuff. Oh, that's too bad. So I have no idea when it was written. But yeah, they wrote this. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, this was released February 11th of 2021. So this was released a 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is on the B. Guys, you're supposed to write satire there. This is not satire.
Wow. You know what I think? I think that by June of this year, the B will just be real news.
Yeah, well, the B is already real news. I mean, let's pop over, have a couple more. We can all go stop into the B, not the B for a moment, but I had a couple others bookmarked out here. Now, here's a great one. Students are demanding the removal of the George Washington statue at the University of Washington in the state of Washington.
What?
Let that one sink
in.
in.
Can you say that again? Because I think I understood it, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Students are demanding the removal of the George Washington statue from the University of Washington in the state of Washington.
Okay, so I did understand. I just couldn't fully comprehend it first. Holy cow.
Yeah, you got it all right. Your brain just exploded because you go, how can they even imagine this? They live in the Washington state. They're attending the Washington University, named after George Washington himself.
But they want to remove the statue.
They want to remove the statue of him that represents the university, that represents the state they're in. Yes. Yes, they're not fully following all the way down. Oh, this one's great. This is where it'd be nice if I was sharing a screen with you so you can watch this video live. Let me try that. Let me try that with you here. Because if that works, you could look at the screen and then you'll be able to see this live instead of having to wait for the 30-second delay. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting for your reaction. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's pop this one up here. This is a UK, United Kingdom police raid on an exercise gym.
On an exercise gym. Wow.
Just watch. This is the raid. Oh, that's not it. Where's the whole one? Oh, there it is. Okay, here's the whole one. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay, watch.
All I can think of is
What's funny
running.
is it's not like you're not thinking they're coming out of a gym. You think they'd be coming out of a bordello or a speakeasy, and it's a police raid. And look at this guy. They just beat the shit out of him. The cop just beat him with a billy club and threatened him to hit him some more. It's like, holy crap, guys. These are people exercising. They're doing yoga. It's actually a yoga. It's a yoga center. So they didn't get to enjoy the inner peace they just accomplished from yoga class.
Oh man, that's my favorite part of yoga is when you get to just breathe and experience the peace and everything after.
Well, but you get that. But you get that at the end of your yoga session. I'm talking as you're leaving yoga class.
Now you're running for your life.
Now you're like running for your life, literally.
Oh man.
And here's something really good that is not from the B, but this follows a story I've been following for a while from Rebel News, and this is about the pastor in Alberta who's been arrested and tossed in jail. Mm-hmm. Prison, actually. He's in a prison, not a jail. He's in a prison right now.
Oh, geez.
And I wanted to read this because the church itself wrote a pretty hard-hitting statement going on a bit about the pandemic and other things and why churches are important. Now, I'm not an overly religious person that believes in church, but I believe in what churches do. And that is bringing people together and helping to increase the spirituality for the path that those people have chosen to be on. Because whenever I get the question, I always stop people and go, well, let me ask you a question. And there's usually a mountaintop of some sort, sometimes tall ones, sometimes short ones. You can point around, or some tall building. You look at it and say top of that and say, look at the top of that. And they go, yeah. Say, how many paths are there to get to the top of that? And usually you'll get an answer, oh, there's a few, I imagine. Or you have to coax them along and say, there's an infinite amount of paths to the top. Some are easier than others. The top is what people are trying to achieve, that connection with God, spirituality, the universe, energy, whatever you want to call it. But there's millions of paths to get to the top of that. And everyone chooses the path they want. And some people choose it through Christianity and churches, and others choose it through Islam and Judaism or whatever. But it's always everyone's trying to achieve the same path. Mm-hmm. So that's what I like to tell people is like that path is for the top is for everyone. The way you get there, that's up to you. So at any rate, this is what they put out, which puts out a really good piece of information. So I'm going to read this in its entirety. It's a pretty long statement.
All right.
Dear fellow Albertans, it goes without saying that this has been an incredibly difficult 11 months. The effects and ramifications of COVID-19 on our precious province are not insignificant. We sympathize with everyone who has suffered loss in this time, whether it be the loss of a loved one or loss stemming from government lockdowns, such as economic loss or suffering as a result of being denied necessary health care. Given the attention our church has received in recent days, we want to address the broader public in our reasons for gathering as a local church. What follows is not a theological defense. We have already addressed that sufficiently here, and here. These are links in it going off to their website. And it is primarily and predominantly obedience to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ that has shaped our stance. Instead, what follows will shed light on our approach to what is being called a pandemic, in quotes. The reason we put pandemic in quotes is because the definition of a pandemic was changed about 10 years ago. At one point in time, a pandemic was defined as an infectious disease that resulted in a certain percentage of excess deaths over and above the normal annual averages of deaths. The definition was changed in connection with the H1N1 to remove this threshold. 10 years ago, COVID-19 would not have qualified as a pandemic. In fact, not even close. When COVID-19 first appeared, we shifted to live stream and abided by most of the new government guidelines for our gatherings. But when the first declared public health emergency ended, we opened our doors and returned to nearly normal gatherings on Sunday, June 21st, 2020. Well, that was a prestigious day for you. We did so recognizing that COVID-19 was much less severe than the government had initially projected. This sentiment was reflected in the assessment of the Premier of Alberta, who deliberately referred to COVID-19 as influenza multiple times in a speech announcing the first declared public health emergency. Well, he had balls back then. What happens to those? Anyway, we'll come back to that later. In early July, it was brought to our attention that two separate individuals had attended our gatherings on 2 consecutive Sundays and subsequently tested positive for the virus, both cases being unrelated to each other. At the same time, we did our own internal contact tracing prior to AHS notifying us of the exposure. Many of our congregants were tested, and it was determined that no transmission of the virus had taken place. Out of an abundance of caution, we shifted exclusively to live stream and shut down all other ministries for 2 weeks, 14 days. We did this to mitigate any further spread of COVID-19. When it was evident that no further spread had taken place, we resumed our near-normal gathering since then, and we have gathered as such each Sunday without incidents, 28 Sundays to date. Okay, this is put out a week or so ago tops, this last week, I believe. Okay, having engaged in an immense amount of research interacting with both doctors and frontline healthcare workers, it is apparent that the negative effects of the government lockdown measure on society far surpass the effects of COVID-19. The science being used to justify lockdown measures is both suspect and selective. In fact, there is no empirical evidence that lockdowns are effective in mitigating the spread of the virus. We are gravely concerned that COVID-19 is being used to fundamentally alter society and strip us of all our civil liberties. By the time the so-called pandemic is over, if it is ever permitted to be over, Albertans will be utterly reliant on government instead of free, prosperous, and independent. Now, you could replace Alberta with everywhere.
Yeah.
As such, we believe our love for our neighbor demands that we exercise our civil liberties. We do not see our actions as perpetuating the longevity of COVID-19 or any other virus that will inevitably come along. If anything, we see our actions as contributing to its end, the end of destructive lockdowns, the end of the attempt to institutionalize the debilitating fear of viral infections. Our local church is clear evidence that the government lockdowns are unnecessary. In fact, it is also evidence of how harmful they are. Without going into detail, we recently lost the life of one of our precious congregants who was denied necessary health care due to government lockdown measures. I mean, somebody died because they probably couldn't get a surgery.
Yeah.
Or they weren't tested for cancer or whatever. Consider the following statistics. It is alleged that 129,075 Albertans have tested positive for the virus. And these numbers will probably match, or not match, but will percentage-wise will match anywhere if you run the percentages. Mm-hmm. This works out to just less than 3% of the population. However, it needs to be pointed out that the PCR test being used to test for COVID-19 is fraught with false positives. This is especially true since at least until recently, Alberta was running the PCR test at 40 amplifications. As such, the number of Albertans who have actually contracted the virus is likely significantly less. It is also vital to highlight that more than 99% of those who contract the virus will fully recover. Alberta is currently reporting 1,782 COVID-related deaths. It is critically important to articulate it this way. There is a big difference between dying from COVID and dying with COVID. That's why they say COVID-related deaths. It is also critical to note that those COVID-related deaths as tragic as they are, have not resulted in a statistically significant increase in excess deaths. The average age of those who have died related to COVID-19 is 82, consistent with life expectancy in Alberta. Sadly, most of these individuals would have likely died to various other lethal comorbidities, and it immensely grieves us that in many cases they were forced to die apart from their family unnecessarily. In addition, experts estimate that deaths in the long run resulting from the government lockdown measures will surpass COVID-related deaths 10 to 1. Example, premature deaths resulting from not receiving necessary health care, suicides, drug overdoses, addictions, and the development of chronic health conditions, total loss of income, family breakdowns, etc. We've already seen lots of that. But those aren't counted as COVID deaths, thank God. Otherwise, their numbers would be insane.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, it would seem that COVID-related deaths are being treated as though they are somehow more tragic than any and all other deaths. Many Albertans are afraid and are convinced of the efficacy of government lockdowns for two reasons: misinformation and fear-mongering. The media has so pounded the COVID-19 drum since the pandemic began, almost exclusively emphasizing caseloads and deaths, that people are fearful. So fearful, in fact, that they have been convinced that yielding up their civil liberties to the government is in their best interests. It is difficult to have not lost confidence in the mainstream media. It would seem as though journalism is on life support in our province. The media should have made up the most thorough, discerning. The media should be made up of the most thorough, discerning, and investigative people in our society. Instead, many of them seem to be serving an ideological agenda. Now more than ever, it is vital that Albertans exercise discernment when listening to the media. What do we believe people should do? We believe they should responsibly return to their lives. Churches should open. Businesses should open. Families and friends should come together around meals, and people should begin to exercise their civil liberties again. Otherwise, we may not get them back. In fact, some say we are on the cusp of reaching the point of no return. Protect the vulnerable, exercise reasonable precautions, but begin to live your lives again. That said, living life comes with risks. Every time we get behind the wheel of a car, we are assuming a degree of risk. We accept that risk due to the benefits of driving. Yes, though vastly overblown, there are associated risks with COVID-19, as there are with other infections. Human life, though precious, is fragile. As such, death looms over all of us. That is why we need the message of hope. One that addresses our greatest need. That message is found in Jesus Christ. It is found in him because all of us have sinned, fallen, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go to that one. Praise be to God, the Father commissioned in obedience. So yeah, it goes on to a bunch of passages from the Bible. So I'm not going to go into that because those wrap my tongue even more. But the point being is that is a very good piece to put out, and I found this at Not to Be. You know
what? I've never liked Christian churches, but I gotta say, they made an amazing point, and I really support them.
Yeah, well, they make it a point. The thing is, I support Christian churches. I belong to numerous churches. I've been baptized in virtually every religion going except Judaism and Seventh-day Adventist. Islam, those ones, the other majors. But every other churches I've been, and I used to go to them because I enjoyed listening to what they had to say. What I also liked is in some churches you get a lot of camaraderie, a lot of happy people, especially when you're at church. So churches and Christianity and whatever people believe in, it's all up to them, and so be it. That's the way it goes. But that's what I found out there, and it's really a great thing. So that's another Not to Be. That's life, right now. And they put this out because their pastor is sitting in a prison in Alberta right now.
What I find interesting is the fact that churches haven't traditionally gone against the government. Usually churches are the government.
Yep.
At least in the history that I know.
Yeah.
So the fact that the churches are currently going against the government, that says a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing is churches are pulling up the slack of what they've avoided for a long time.
It's amazing, actually, and quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But also a wee bit scary because the churches aren't the government currently. What is?
Oh, the corporations are the government now.
The science.
Well, science, corporations. As we talked about before, remember, listen to science. Science knows it all. Trust science. They're dropping they're dropping the out of it. They're removing
yes,
they're removing the. It's becoming personified. Yeah, as I said before, we talked about before, they've got to kill the old gods to bring in the new gods for the new age that we're entering into. It'll take them a while. It takes a long time to kill gods. So you got to, I mean, it took them 300 years to kill the old gods before Jesus Christ was made the new God. So they've got a ways to go to take it all down. Got a ways to go. Where do we go from here? There was something else I wanted to ramble on about. That's all the random stuff from the B and the not the B. The not the B is I enjoy going there sometimes. It just pulls up some stuff here. All right, so
I just gotta say my own personal experience about science. I have been shot down horrifically recently by a friend of mine because I wasn't following the science. And the way that she put it to me was like, these are provable scientific facts that have been measured and counted and you can physically touch them. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting is nothing of what she was saying had any of those aspects to them. They were just words that people who had a degree said.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the fact that because these people had the word scientist or PhD in front of them, she believed them wholeheartedly without reading the studies. Yeah. And it was kind of surprising to me, honestly.
Yeah, well, that's the way they believe. You got to remember, before we go much further, hey, for those of you that are on there, I missed the person. We had 5 there for a little while. And hit the like button. Like the video. Just, hit the little like button. If you don't like it, hit the
like and share.
Like and subscribe. Okay, so anyway, back to the science thing. Is we talked about that. Is that once upon a time, not that long ago, like even 10 or 20 years ago, science was never settled because unless you're talking about an absolute that they're still trying to disprove anyway, is gravity or the speed of light. They're still trying to disprove those, but science is never truly settled because somebody can come along with a new theory that can be tested and disprove the old theory.
The original practice of science. The original practice was that science is nothing but a theory.
It's a theory, and it's a valid theory until somebody comes along and disproves that valid theory. Yes.
But now they're writing down the current scientific theories as though they are scientific laws.
Yes, that's right.
That cannot be broken.
Yes, laws that can't be broken. It's no longer challengeable. You can't challenge the science. Can't challenge science. Science knows it all. Yes, that's what's going to be.
What's really disturbing? Way back when we first started talking about this, we were talking about what the new God would be. Yeah. I didn't actually think that science would be the new God. I actually said science will be the new God jokingly.
Oh, well, you picked the right one, jokingly or not.
Apparently I did.
Yeah. That's the way.
Kind of disturbing, though, because I didn't think that science could be a God.
Yeah. Let's see what this global news happens. Come on. Oh, here it is. You got to cue these videos up. This is from your aliens space stuff. An asteroid that's coming in.
Honestly, this one didn't come from
me. For the 15th of February, 2021. There is a great deal of celestial activity taking place in our skies, with a series of asteroids passing dangerously close to the Earth. some passing between us and the moon,
Oh, that is
with
close.
others measuring the size of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, that's huge.
Our main concern
like a mile
when
across.
evaluating the dangers posed by asteroids
Yes.
is determining its
Okay, well, that'll be enough. Wow, that's pretty heavy there.
This one didn't actually come from me. This one came from my partner. And
good for him.
although I listened half-heartedly to it, I ended up getting distracted by kids. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, just listening to the beginning there, it talks about the asteroids, and I knew we had some asteroids. No Agenda Show mentioned some the other day that we had some asteroids pass by too, or not comets, but asteroids. We've had a lot of this last year we've had a lot of asteroid activity.
Yeah.
And we've only had a couple pass between us and the moon, which is getting pretty fucking close.
And this one is supposed to be a mile wide and passing between us and the moon, closer to the Earth than the moon.
Hmm.
It's entirely possible, according to this video, at least so far as I understood, that the gravity of the Earth will pull it in.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to go check that out. So we've got this one here is I'll have to download this. It's the entire Book of Enoch.
Yes, it's the entire Book of Enoch with many commercials.
Yeah, well,
on YouTube.
Once I download it, I won't see the commercials anymore. Whenever I get something that's really good, it's an hour long too. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go download that.
It's actually a pretty decent thing. I started listening to it, and I kind of skipped through it because I admit my partner would probably be the better one to chat on this particular topic. He's mildly obsessed, and he listened to it all, but I only listened to parts of it, and from what I understand, it is the entirety of the Book of Enoch.
Cool. I want to hear the stories. You could actually, if you plug your phone in, you can often. Well, I don't know. I get an Android phone. I hear it's easier to transfer files to an Android. But you can just put those files directly on your phone instead of having to download it. Anyway, blah blah blah.
That's cool.
All right. So what's this? Facebook official videos. I'm not opening that. I'm not opening Facebook links. I'm not allowed to open Facebook.
What? Why not?
Why not? Because Facebook used to be a crack for me. I don't even go in there anymore. I haven't used my Facebook account for almost 9 months now. You know, I realized I'd sit down, I'll check a couple things, and I'll look up, and all of a sudden I've wasted an hour and a half scrolling through Facebook. It's designed that way. It's designed that way to get people hooked like that, which is why everyone freaks out all over the world over it right now. Because they got everyone hooked on this basically, it's face crack. That's why it's called face crack.
I check it every week because I have people overseas, but I get bored after 10 or 15 minutes. I guess I haven't used it enough for them to understand my psyche.
They don't have your pattern yet.
Well, this first one on Facebook, it's a very interesting but very long thing. It goes on about how if you don't have an open mind, you're going to be offended, and so sorry, you should just turn off now. But if you have an open mind, listen to this. Yeah, and it goes on. It goes on that kind of idea.
I like the premise of the other one. That a self-proclaimed man in black talks about his secret life as an agent.
That one is very interesting. Sean, he made me listen to it. He waited until I was like in between kids and bedtime. So he got me in a good moment, and he's like, okay, you're going to listen to this. And he put it on, and it actually, it's very interesting, but at the same time, kind of far-fetched.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I could believe it, but I also have a very large grain of salt ingrained in for it.
Well, there's just some things. Yeah, I've got my grains of salt all lined up.
Yeah, but it is very interesting if you have the time to listen to it. It's near an hour long.
Yeah.
And the fella, what really got me and why I kind of thought, okay, not likely, is he was talking about about the shot that he got that killed his memory, but then later on he remembered everything. And he wasn't supposed to remember because of the shot he got. It was supposed to be like a memory wiper, but now he remembered because it'd been enough years or something.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's have something fun here. It's we've been at this an hour and a half, and we'll be wrapping.
Oh wow,
up
really?
soon. Oh yeah. Here's one here. It's from Reddit.com. It's the Ask Reddit subreddit. It's really entertaining sometimes. Sometimes their questions are utterly bizarre, and other times they're kind of interesting. Here's a lovely thought. What if you suddenly feel a touch on your shoulder, following with the words, "Are you sleeping during my class?" You open your eyes and you're at your 7th grade math class. All of the life leading up to this point was just a dream, and you're a 7th grader. What are your thoughts? It's like, oh my God, I better buy a Bitcoin. No, Bitcoin wasn't invented then. That
wouldn't be my first thought. But okay.
It was like, oh my God, I need to invest in Apple stock when it crashes down to 10 cents a share. You know what's sad is Apple stock, when I was in college, it was $1.30 a share. I didn't have any money, but $1.30 is, just think if you'd have bought 1,000 shares in 2000. I mean, what's their, and since then their stock has split like 7 times.
Really?
And it's still worth $1,000 a share now, I think, or some ridiculous.
Wow.
So that one share you had when it split the first time, you would have had 2. When it split the second time, you would have had 4. When it split the third time, now you have 8. When it split the 4th time, now you have 16. You know, so it just keeps going and going and going. And if you bought 1,000 shares, now you're looking at 16, 20,000 shares, 36,000 shares. Just by hanging on to it all that time, and now it's worth, millions. So yeah. And besides that, math class was the class I often slept in.
Although Panzerzo says by Microsoft.
Oh, Microsoft would have been even better. Yes,
yeah,
but what's funny?
Definitely.
What's funny is while Gates is the richest, I think also buy Amazon. Amazon stock would have been good to buy. They were pretty cheap back in the early 2000s. Yeah, so yeah.
That would be a good idea.
Oh yeah, it was buy stock, but no, the whole thing is.
Yeah, no, my mind would be going in a totally different direction.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's just like, yeah, well, whatever. Yay, I'm free.
That's an idea.
I'm free the world. Let's see. I'm pretty much running out of things that I want to pull forward now. I think I pulled this one up once before just to make sure. This is Nostradamus's predictions for 2024. Asteroid or 2021 asteroids. Hey, weren't we just talking about those?
We were.
Zombies and a bad outlook. It's Nostradamus.
Well, the bad outlook is pretty easy to see at this point.
Yeah, well, zombies. What do you have to say? Fathers and mothers dead of infinite sorrows. Women in mourning. The pestilent she-monster. The great one to be no more. All the world to end. Yeah, it's not a quatrain.
Oh wow! Actually, that sounds pretty dead on. The first few lines there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it would be mothers and fathers dead of infinite sorrows.
Yeah.
And women are always in mourning when there's that. And the pestilent she-monster. So yeah, I guess that could be tied into some of the events from 2020 leading into 2021. Here's one here. We'll be in 2021. Oh, that was a 2020 prediction. Here's a 2021. After great trouble for humanity, a greater one is prepared. The greater mover renews the ages. Well, we already knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Rain, blood, milk, famine, steel, and plague. Is the heavens fire seen? A long spark running. Well,
okay.
Okay, that describes a comet.
Yeah.
And we have one coming our way due in December.
Apparently, we also have one due in March.
That's a comet or an asteroid? We have a comet?
Sorry, asteroid.
Asteroid
due in March, comet due in September.
Asteroids don't light up the sky unless they end up in our atmosphere. Comets light up the sky, and they're a long ways off. It's like Comet Hale-Bopp. You don't remember it, but you got to see it.
Yeah.
But we have another comet. I've talked about it a couple of shows ago. And I went and dug up the information, re-verified that I didn't get duped, because there was another comet that came by a year earlier. And it's like, nope, this one here is the one that's actually coming in. It was spotted out near Uranus, and it already had a corona on it, which means it's a big ass comet. Because being that far out in our solar system and getting a corona on it usually doesn't happen to comets. They usually don't get the comet until they get closer in. Usually between Mars and what's in between Mars and what planets beyond Mars? Jupiter? Not Jupiter.
I can't even remember. I had it all memorized when I was a kid and had to pass the test.
They're just out beyond Mars, but inside the next planet. And that's usually where the coronas start. But this corona started early. So it's supposed to be very bright in the sky. It's supposed to be the blue star prophesied by the Hopi Indian.
New age a coming.
All right. So yeah, we got a new age coming. So, and what's up? Oh yeah, see, this is next up, an asteroid in the sky. One sees fire and a long trail of sparks. Already we've had a few close calls. That's what he's thinking. We had an asteroid zip past the Earth. So yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, but he thinking an asteroid. Nah, it's in the heavens fire scene, a long spark running. You know, that's one way to look at it, is, you know, the fireball of an asteroid coming in, but the other is a comet, which leaves a massive streak in a fireball in the sky for days.
Are you talking about what passed through our skies when I was like 6 or 7?
Yep, somewhere around there.
I remember that.
We went out camping on Salt Spring Island.
I don't remember the camping bit. I remember being on Triangle Mountain and looking up into the sky with those funny glasses you gave me.
Hale-Bopp was around for a couple of weeks.
Well, that's what I remember, sitting on the black car that just wouldn't die.
Yep. a comet that will never be back again, or not in your lifetime anyway.
Well, that's what I remember, sitting on the black car that just wouldn't die because it had been returned again recently.
I probably saw Halley's Comet, but I didn't pay any attention to it because I was too young. Because Halley's Comet came by in the 70s.
Huh. It's amazing how we have these comets pass by again and again.
Well, they're basically a small planetoid caught in an orbit.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We have them in historical documents, and yet we still connect them with huge things that happen to our planet.
Well, the reason they're connected to huge things that happen on our planet is the length of time it takes these items to return coincide with the cycles of the Earth.
Ah, that makes sense.
It's like right now we have this comet coming back. They think it's kind of new, but they're still trying to figure out what its orbit might be. But it might have a long enough orbit that it's coinciding back on the Earth during these particular changes.
Okay.
You know, and you got to remember, what starts out as history eventually becomes legend, and then it becomes myth.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of information we have is mythology, but at one point that mythology had a truth basis.
Tolkien had it right.
Yes, he had it absolutely right, because if you go through, I mean, you listen to the history, you know, the First Nations who have mostly it's an oral tradition history, and a lot of their stuff is told as legends or myths about their heroes and how their heroes did things, but they're actually passing down an important lesson or a story or a warning of a cycle. It's like if you study some of these things and you tease apart the imagery for what it should be, or another way to interpret it than what people interpret it as, you start to discover that, wait a minute, this is a warning of a cycle that's happening. I mean, one of the interesting things I've been following, if we go in, since we're down this rabbit hole, is on the Adapt 2030 channel. He did this really interesting series about the petroglyphs that you find everywhere. In fact, I need to stop and look at Petroglyph Park up in Nanaimo. Maybe I'll just look up a photo of it so I can see the petroglyphs. But he's been reinterpreting the petroglyphs with a new idea on them. I don't know where he got the idea or where it started from, but it's starting to make sense because many of the petroglyphs are actually carvings of images of plasma and how it appears in our atmosphere. And we haven't had these kind of plasma stuff in our atmosphere in our current history. And these plasma storms are being created because of the grand solar minimum, which is allowing more cosmic radiation into the Earth, which is allowing when the sun sends off something, it's sending more plasma discharge. The magnetic fields that we're coming into, the new magnetic field coming into with the four gas giants, and because the magnetic fields happen, they create these plasma energy bolts. And it's like, and there's all kinds of stuff that's appearing. And when he took these and he started comparing them to the rock carvings, all of a sudden they make sense because they look identical to what these rock carvings are. And maybe people weren't, trying to describe, to tell us something so much as to describe something of an event that's going to occur or that they witnessed. So you end up down these strange rabbit holes. Saturn, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I eventually get back to it. So that's what the petroglyph carvings and that's what mythology is, and the stories that are told. They're warning us, or they're trying to teach us. Well, they're in the end warning us, but they're trying to teach us something we need to know to prepare for the event that's going to come, and how they might have survived it.
Mm.
It's kind of like, if we've got the same sorts of things on the island, it's something to start being aware of and then start searching out some dolmens. I don't know if we'd have any dolmens on the island. They've completely logged this island in some aspects, completely destroyed things, such as the sacred cave.
Yeah, which they're still having issues up on that mountain because they destroyed the cave, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, destroying that sacred bear cave, which was a myth. That bear cave was a myth. It couldn't be found.
Until it was found.
Well, I know, but it had fallen into mythology until it was found. And then the contractors quickly blew it up before it could be completely protected. Blew it up as fast as they could. That might have been a dolmen.
What?
A dolmen. It's like a stone house or a stone cave on three sides. It's got an overhang and whatnot. It's the kind of thing that would protect you from electrical discharges in the atmosphere. Because it would act a lot like a Faraday cage, causing the electricity to flow around you and hit ground versus flow through you. Best way I can describe it is like a Faraday cage, because once we hit a point where we've got mass amounts of electrical discharge in the air, it can become hazardous. It's like going into some place in Alberta in the wintertime and touching a doorknob. Come on, you had to have done that once.
I don't know.
You don't remember reaching for a doorknob or a light switch and getting a sudden electric shock in the wintertime there? You would remember it. Even Calgary.
I remember shuffling my feet across carpet.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well.
Oh, I remember in Alberta. Okay, Alberta, I went to pet the cat and I got an electric shock. Okay, I remember that.
Oh, you weren't as bad as me, man. I must have a higher energy. Everything in the wintertime I touched that was metal, I sent off a spark hot enough to run a spark plug on an engine.
Yeah, that's not me. I mean, if I shuffled my socked feet across the carpet in winter, I might get a shock from the cat.
No, that was me. I actually had got in such a habit of holding my keys in my hand, and before I touch anything metal, I hold the key to it to run the electricity through the key instead of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. You have very little resistance in your body.
Yeah, very little resistance. And it really sucked in the winter there because every once in a while I'd forget my keys. I'd just get up, walk across the room on a hardwood floor, not carpet, hardwood floor. Walk across the room, hit the light switch and go, "Dah!" And you can hear the snap.
Apparently I have a very high resistance in my body.
Apparently. Okay, well, this is about it. I think we'll just wrap it up with this. It's been an hour 40. It's been an hour 50 now. we'll wrap it up with this. We'll play us out of here with a little bit of Days of Thunder and call it a night.
Sounds
These
good.
are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
Ah, that was very nice. All right, well, that's all I got for you. Everyone take a good night. It was good to see a bunch of people there. And take care now. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Adios, mofo.
All right, stream is ended. I was going to tell you something. What the hell was it?